This next era of YouTube, it is not about going viral, but it's going to be about building a trustworthy personal brand, a profitable personal brand, one that's focused on turning viewers into revenue. And listen, if you're still chasing views, sorry to tell you, you're behind the ball. At least if revenue and business growth is your priority, and that's what your goal with YouTube is. But if you give me however long this video ends up being, I can guarantee you, I can promise you that this will be the most valuable video that you watch on YouTube on personal branding and how to actually turn viewers into leads, how to come up with video ideas that are targeted to your ideal client, and how to do so predictably without just throwing random videos on the wall and hoping one of them sticks and blows up. So, I mean, I can guarantee you, this is probably one of the most valuable videos that I am going to release. I am giving everything away. I work with 7 to 8 figure entrepreneurs, and this is exactly the systems and frameworks that I implement inside of their business, inside of their content operating systems, and I'm just giving it to you. That being said, before you click off, I'm putting chapter markers below. So give me the average view duration percentage and just skip ahead if you get bored into a part that you think is more valuable. All right, so we're gonna be talking about the next era of YouTube, and I'm gonna be breaking this up into different sections. But right off the bat, I'm sure you're all familiar with these two guys, Alex Hormozi and Gary Vaynerchuk. They're two massive names in the space, and they talk about, just to kind of have proof of concept behind what I'm gonna be telling you today, they talk about everything I'm gonna be mentioning. I'm just breaking it down on a deeper level, what I've seen work with clients that I have worked with. Now, that being said, I do have a disclaimer here that you could see. This way of content that we're gonna be breaking down, it's not the only way to be successful on YouTube. It's just one of many different content archetypes that can work for you. There's several different archetypes of content, which by the way, we'll break them all down, that if you take that vehicle of content, it will still work for you. You still can be successful. I'm just going to break down what I've seen work the most and what a lot of these big names are talking about the most. This next era on YouTube, it's no spoiler, it's personal branding, right? Personal branding, it means a lot of different things. There's so much noise in the industry and on YouTube and the social landscape of YouTube about personal branding. The way I'm gonna break down personal branding is in the following order. Basically, I'm gonna talk about what personal branding is. Then I'm gonna talk about what's the best content vehicle or archetype to go down when it comes to personal branding. And then I'm going to just show you proof that this is one of the content archetypes that will bring results for you as long as you're consistent. Proof from YouTube themselves. Whoa, bro, there's that big B. There's that big B, bro. That thing is huge. So what is personal branding? So frustrating. Most people think, and it's because of the noise and just nonsense that's out there in the industry, most people think that personal branding is about becoming famous, about being the center of attention, the spotlight, and about living this unrealistic, perfect lifestyle of making a lot of money and driving Lamborghinis and all this other nonsense, right? And just having life super dialed in. That is not what personal branding is. And the reason you see so many people trying to build personal brands and failing in doing so is because they are trying to go that route. This could not be further from the truth. This is a manufactured, inauthentic reality that does not build strong community at all. And that's what personal branding is really, the root of personal branding is having an identity. Whoa, that B got close. Is having an identity that can build a solid, authentic community around, not just a hollow fan base. This is gonna sound really harsh, but if you take anything away from this video, aside from the actionable tips, which by the way, later in this video, I'll be showing you exactly how you can come up with predictable video ideas that are targeted and optimized. But for right now, if you take anything else out of this video, take this as far as a philosophy of personal branding. With content in general, but especially with personal branding, nobody cares about you until you give them a reason to. Nobody. They do not care about you. They do not care about seeing your face on the thumbnail. They don't care about what you're doing until you give them a reason to care. And a lot of times, this is through value that you can give to them through your content, or relatability, or authenticity. The next point here that is really gonna ruffle feathers, but again, I know it sounds harsh, but it's just something that you need to have self-awareness about and really embody and understand if you wanna be successful with personal branding and content. Value, again, based on what I just said, value is what's gonna build the brand, the personal brand. It's not going to be your personality or what you're doing. It's gonna be the value that builds the brand before your personality, okay? Not the other way around. And again, this is why so many people, when they start with personal branding and just content in general, they fail because they're too focused on themselves and how they look, and they're too focused on being the spotlight. You need to be focused on making the value the spotlight. Nobody cares about your story either until it's useful to them, right? Like my story about how I was dead broke over a year ago and I couldn't even afford to buy my kid food. If I talked about that story but didn't make it useful by sharing how I got out of that situation, right? Or the business learnings or things that I did in order to get to the place I am with my business, nobody would care, right? Because so many other people are in that same situation. Next is you're not the main character. Even though you feel like you are, we all have the main character complex where we feel like we're the main character of our, of everything we do because we are the main characters in our lives, right? But you're not the main character when it comes to content and personal branding. You're just the mirror. What do I mean by that? I mean the best content oftentimes comes when you speak to the younger version of yourself. I know there are so many other people who are in the situation that I was in and are really trying to figure out how to get out of that. In the best way I can relate to them and get somebody who subscribes to me and engages with me and buys from me is to become a mirror for them. Tie in the relatability, having them understand that I know how they feel because I've been there. This is what I did to get there. Now, that being said, I have 2 more points here is your brand. This is another thing too. People get so hung up on the aesthetics. And don't get me wrong, the aesthetics, the branding, all of that's very important. Dan Martell, show me a video he's not wearing a blue shirt. Diary of a CEO, show me a video he's not dressed in all black. Alex Hormozy, show me a video he's not wearing a nose strip and a tank top. Daniel Dalen, show me a video where it doesn't have this grain and orange kind of tint, right? Aesthetic does matter and it has its place. But that being said, your brand isn't your logo. It's not your color palette. It's not your fonts. First and foremost, before anything else, it's how you make people feel with your content. It's how they feel when they watch you, if they feel like they can relate to you, if they feel like they understand you and they get a vibe of your personality. That's what's going to come first before any of that other stuff. Again, that stuff is important. It's not the most important. And I really just want to take a second and say, this is where I see so many people get hung up. They will spend so long building out these like personal brand kits and they just lose complete touch with reality when it comes to actually conveying content that makes people feel something or adds value. Like the 2 most important pillars of the content, they completely miss out on. So remember that. And then the final and last point that I want you to take away from this video, if anything else, is, again, this is applicable to content, but personal branding especially, it isn't about being famous or known. It's about being trusted. This is extremely important. And in order to do that, you can't put on a fake lifestyle, right? And it's why like Bernardo and I, he helps me. He's like the creative director. He helps me with everything. And it's why we try to get such authentic, real moments because we want to show that authenticity. We want to get the points where we're talking with each other in the car about some like really good points about how, about the journey or about endurance within this. Like we try to capture all that because it's real and we don't try to manufacture it because when you manufacture it, it instantly loses trust. People can sense it. They can taste it. We still haven't answered the question, what is personal branding? Building a personal brand, what it is about positioning yourself through content as the character that your market follows. I mean, think about it this way, basically. I even have it written down here for you guys to just visually see. Your personal brand should be about making content that's authentic, relatable, and attractive to your ideal viewer and or buyer. Right? Because listen, at the end of the day, the whole purpose of building a personal brand, it's not to get famous. It's not for vanity metrics. It's to build in a predictable acquisition system or engine into our business to generate more revenue through organic content. And we do it by approaching personal branding and just content this way, right? Now, this is why it's so important also to get very clear on your goal with content. It's why I even have it written down right here. Is it to generate revenue? Or is it just for vanity metrics? Because while there is correlations between or similarities between those 2 strategies, it's like exercise. If you want to become a power lifter, your training plan is going to be different than if you want to lean out and get super shredded. Well, if your goal is to view maximize and reach a large total addressable market, that strategy is different than if your goal is to hyper target and focus in on your ideal client profile. It's the same thing. There is no one size fits all with content. So you need to become hyper focused on what your goal is as well. And then one other point I wanted to make around authenticity, relatability, and having an attraction or attracting your ideal viewer profile is synergy. This is mine and Bernardo's favorite word. There is something that if you guys can suck at having call to actions, you could be pretty rough on camera. I have seen this time and time again. If you have very strong synergy between your audience, your content, and your offer, it's just, YouTube will be on easy mode for you. You will, I am 99.9% certain that you will generate a very, very, very large amount of wealth through YouTube organic. And I'm saying this from somebody who's worked with 7, 8-figure, 6-figure entrepreneurs some of them were spending 35 grand a month in ad spend. And we've saved, like with clients we've worked with, again, this isn't like, don't quote me on this because it goes up every day, but I think last I checked, it was like $105,000 is what we've saved our clients in ad spend by making organic YouTube work for them. That means if they're spending 35K on ads and they stop that, we're generating them, I mean, obviously not right away, but over time, the same amount, if not more revenue in their business without that paid ads, without that overhead, right? Through this powerful content infrastructure that we build. This brings us to the next point here. Whether you decide to do value vlogs, documenting over creating, or a different content archetype, which we're going to break them all down in a little bit, this is going to be the future of content. It will be personal branding with whatever content archetype you choose. One of the most powerful ways to build a stronger personal brand, again, this is just one of many content archetypes, but one of the most powerful ways to do it is to document over creating, or creating value vlogs. The reason is because this creates a cascading effect or result of delivering or conveying just a ridiculous amount of authenticity. Right now, I'm just going to highlight this for you. Right now, YouTube is prioritizing authenticity, and I have proof of it. I will show you right here. I'm probably the only nerd who reads YouTube articles or updates they come out with. But if you come here, I screenshotted it. Check this out. I screenshotted this as proof. And if we look down here, this is chapter 1 of this article. Connecting with emotion. Look at what they wrote here. Expectations of video in general have been transformed, right? Meaning people, the way they expect to view content, it's different now. With viewers now demanding more than just superficial quality content. They're over the superficial Lamborghini lifestyle, unless that's authentic to you. But if it's not, like it's not to a lot of people, they're sick of that. And YouTube is saying, like, this is what they're prioritizing. This is what is resonating more with people. A study with 1,000 video viewers shows that YouTube conducted, emotional aspects are in fact valued even more than technical markers. People value emotion and authenticity, storytelling value more than they do any other metric, right? It goes on to say overwhelming majority, an overwhelming amount of people expect the content that they watch to exhibit both, with over 91% of respondents saying that high quality content needs to deliver on both technical and emotional authentic levels. Meaning the way that people deem high quality content now is different than how they used to do it. You used to be able to just slap on a crazy Imangazi motion graphic edit and people thought it was value. Doesn't work that way anymore. There is data to prove from YouTube themselves, the largest video search engine that exists, that now the best content is through emotion, relatability, authenticity, and storytelling. What better way, what better content archetype, content vehicle to do that than personal branding? There's more studies here. I'll link the study below this video so you guys could check it out for yourself. YouTube themselves are giving us the blueprint. If we just look, they're telling us what's working, what they're prioritizing. What's the best? All we need to do is figure out, connect the dots. What's the best content infrastructure to build, and what's the best content archetype or form of content or vehicle to drive and collaborate with that infrastructure in order to hit on what is YouTube's pushing most of. Now, with that being said, the next thing on your mind probably, or the next question is, what type of content should you create to build a personal brand? The best content to create and build a strong personal brand, I believe it's to document over creating. Basically, what that means is a value vlog. It's where you create this really authentic, almost vlog style content where you're documenting your life rather than creating it, and you're adding value throughout that piece of content. Because you can, it's the reason I think it's such a powerful way, documenting over creating, is because you can, and I've spoken in depth with one of my clients, Max Pearson, about this as well. And this is something we've been doing with his channel. Gary Vee talks a lot about it. Is because within one piece of content, you can convey so much authenticity, you can convey so much relatability, and also so much value all in one. It's really like an overpowered piece of content. Now, whatever you do though, please just don't click off for like the next 2 minutes here, because if you do, if you just take what I gave you so far and you just go away with it, like it won't be enough. You need to, if you're this far in, like I thank you for making it this far in. Stick all the way through, because all of this kind of like these dots connect with each other. Now, there are several different content archetypes. I've already said that like 6 different times in this video that you can go with to be exceptionally successful on YouTube. I want you to know that I know where Mosey and Gary Vee, like they are like, say, build a personal brand, document over create, nothing else will work, just do that, right? I'm here to tell you, as somebody who literally, the only thing I'm good at, like I suck at Instagram, I suck at TikTok, I'm not your guy for that. YouTube, I'm your guy. I'm very confident in my skill set with YouTube. I study YouTube daily. It's just what I obsess over. So that being in business and the correlation between the two. That being said, I am here to tell you firsthand, that is not the only type of content that will make you successful on YouTube. There are others. If that doesn't fit your personality, or if that doesn't make sense with what you have available to you, that's okay. I think if you are starting out from scratch and you want to build a powerful personal brand and you want to turn that personal brand into a content acquisition engine, which basically, for those of you who don't know, acquisition just means getting clients. So if you want to turn YouTube into a predictable way to get clients organically, I do something called the Pareto Strategy. This whole content strategy, the Pareto Strategy, it's stemmed from the Pareto Principle, which for those of you guys who don't know what the Pareto Principle is, it's the 80-20 rule. Now, the whole concept of this basically is that we make 80% of our content focused on documenting over creating, value vlogs, where we can convey the value, the authenticity, and the relatability all within one piece of content. So we make 80% of our content that, but then we make 20% of our content videos like this one that you're watching right now. Videos where we sit down the camera with an iPad like I do, because I'm a visual learner and I know a lot of you are too, or whether it's without an iPad, where you just sit down and you talk to camera to show that you know what you're talking about. If I did not know what I was talking about, I would not have been able to put this Miro board together from scratch. It took me like 3 hours to build out. If I did not know what I was talking about, I wouldn't have the results to show. And if I did not know what I was talking about, I wouldn't be able to talk for however long this video is going to be and have it come out good if I didn't know what I was going to talk about. That's why it's so important for somebody who's brand new, starting a personal brand from scratch, to implement the Pareto Strategy, the 80-20 rule. Because when you have 80% content as that personal brand value vlog style content, it gets people vibing with you and understanding you and feeling like they get to know you. And that 20% of content is where they learn, oh, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. It's where you really drop the knowledge on people and also provide a lot of value, like hopefully I am doing right now. Now, with that being said, you might see people like Iman Gadzhi's vlogs or Daniel Dalen, where they do 100% with their channels. They do 100% documenting over creating these value vlogs, these documenting style videos. And the reason it works so exceptionally well for them is because they have something most of us don't have when we start: visual credibility, right? They've already gotten to the destination that most of you guys think you want to get to. They have the nice watches, the nice lifestyle. They're doing all these things. So they have the visual credibility in order that proves really that they kind of know what they're talking about. But they also do it within really within the exposition of their videos. But for most of us, for most people, for you and I, that doesn't work. If I started the channel from scratch, just doing value vlogs, for 99% of people, this documenting over creating style, it will not work. And if it does, it will happen extraordinarily or exceptionally slowly. The way to make it work in the fastest, most optimized way is to do the Pareto Strategy, where you have 80% the documenting over creating content. But since we don't have that visual credibility, we need to offset that with the 20% being value, just sitting down to the camera and just giving value, showing that you know what you're talking about. Even if you're a 6 to 8 figure entrepreneur, I'm really talking to you guys mostly here. I mean, I know some 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs personally who I work with who do not live flashy lifestyles, right? They do not do much, but what 99% of entrepreneurship really is, they just sit in the office all day. So for them, similar to myself, they need to do the Pareto strategy in order to see the traction right away, or at least much sooner than if they didn't. By the way, guys, I just wanted to say something here. I have a mentor, a business mentor. I don't know if he's cool with me mentioning his name, so I'm just going to play it safe and not. I paid him a lot of money to be my business mentor, but it's one of the most valuable purchases I've ever made for one reason. Not only because he's a really smart guy and he's ahead of me in business and where I want to be, and I've learned a lot from him, but because he's my ideal client profile. He's a 7, 8 figure entrepreneur. And I asked him, I said, hey, what would you want to see? What could I make that would get you to buy from me? What he told me is exactly what I'm telling you now. He told me, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I wrote down more or less what he said. He said, I watch the Documenting Over Creating. I watch a lot of value vlogs, the Daniel Dalens, the Mr. 4 to 8s, those guys of the world. He watches them a lot, right? And he said that he watches their content a lot because he loves to, he feels like it's great. He gets to know them. He gets to vibe with them and know if they're like somebody who he would be good friends with. But he told me that if someone like me was making that kind of content, it wouldn't be enough to buy from me, right? It would just be entertaining. He said, for you, I also, on the other side of the coin, if you only made talking head content like this, he wouldn't really get to know my personality or see if I would be a good person to work with. So he told me that's not enough either. And this is where we kind of, through collaboration, I really, I've had this strategy, the Pareto strategy before, but I really cemented it after this conversation with him because he told me, my direct client profile told me, what would make me buy from you is if you had 80% of content where I can get to know you and see if I would work well with you and vibe with you, get to know your, relate with you, get some value, be entertained by you through your value vlogs, your Documenting Over Creating, and I would love to see 20% talking head like this. So what am I doing? I'm doing that. What is it doing? It's working. I'm generating leads every single day. I don't know if you watched the last video on my channel, I break down how to stop running ads and go all organic on YouTube. And I use my own channel as a case study. I only have 22,000 subscribers, but I get 3,426 leads a day. And I spend $0 for that. That's just from 2 of my 60 videos because YouTube compounds. All of this to say, I'm getting leads and this is working and I'm doing this strategy here. So if you guys are watching this, then I highly recommend you do this as well. It's not about going viral. That's not the future of YouTube. It's about speaking and creating content to the right person and also tracking the right metrics. And I'll show you an example of this. So I use a third-party tool. I use a third-party tool to track all back-end revenue so I can see exactly who books a call and becomes a sale from which of my videos, because YouTube doesn't give you that analytical data. This is why it's so important to have analytical literacy and be tracking the right things. Right here, I have 3 of my videos. I have videos with almost 500,000 views on my channel, and I have videos with only 324 views on my channel. But check this out. I'll show you this video. This video right here was a video that I made. It was targeted to a large total addressable market, meaning as many people as possible. I knew this video was going to go viral when I made it. In fact, I told my assistant, I even told my parents, I told them before I posted the video, I know that this is going to go viral because it was just the right topic at the right time. I knew it would, at least viral for my channel, right? And it did. This video has 200, this was a screenshot from 2 months ago, but now it's I think it's at 250,000 views. Because I track the back-end data from a revenue perspective, I know that this video generated me 312 booked calls, which is great, right? 312 booked calls. But get this, because it was such a large total addressable market, there were so few people out of that 312 who were my ideal client. So what happened? Out of 312 people, only 33 of them were qualified or semi-qualified. Out of those 33 people, I had a 24% show-up rate. 24. That's horrible, right? From 250,000 views versus this. I made 2 pieces of content, my most recent pieces of content, that were extremely focused on talking to 6 to 8 figure entrepreneurs. Because I do one-to-one. I basically, my offer is I help 6 to 8 figure entrepreneurs. I go into their business as almost like a creative partner for 4 months as their one-to-one consultant and basically help them build and implement this whole thing, okay? And the last 2 videos I made directly for them. One of them has only 1,200 views. One of them from a day ago has only 324 views so far. From a vanity metric perspective, my YouTube dashboard shows me that they're horrible performing videos. But because I have enough analytical literacy to know to track the back-end revenue side of things, check out this data. From this video right here, which was documenting over creating was a value vlog, it was very ideal client profile or ICP focused. I generated only 12 qualified booked calls, which 12 calls from 1,000 views, not bad, but they were super qualified. I had a 92% show up rate, which means I actually had more high quality calls or conversations with my ideal client than the video that had almost 250,000 views. Just to put that into perspective, right? 92% show up rate. That means 11 people showed up. That only means one person didn't show. Now this video, it was only a day ago. 1 day ago. Okay? Well, actually the time of recording this, it was like 3 days ago now. But when I screenshotted this, it was a day ago. 324 views. And from today, since I posted this again was super focused to my ideal client profile. It's generated only 300 views, 2 qualified book calls at 100% show up rate. Which means when I look at this data, this is why it's so important to know what to track and to look at the data. Because if I was looking at this from what YouTube tells me, I would say, oh, obviously this Ryan Tran video, this video where I break down successful YouTubers, every time I post those videos, they go viral. Every time. In my video with almost 500,000 views, it went viral. It was the same concept. So I could have looked at that and been like, great, I'm going to double down on that. But guess what? My business would be growing super slowly and I would have all these views to show for it, and it would just make the infrastructure of my business extremely stressful and complicated because I have a sales rep and we would both be wasting so much time showing up on calls that don't show and dealing with just a high amount of leads that aren't qualified. I'd much rather deal with a small amount of leads that are super qualified. It's just easier for the infrastructure of your business. So I could have looked at that and said, great, I'm going to go all in on this. But instead, I knew what analytics to look for, and I went all in on these videos. And in result, yeah, I'm getting less views, but who cares? Because I'm generating more leads and way more revenue in my business, way more predictably and consistently. And again, YouTube, guys, compounds over time. This video might only have 1,200 views now, but maybe it takes off or another video takes off and then they watch this video later. Like I said, videos that I posted 6 months ago, from just 2 videos that I have, one is 3 months old, one 6 months old, I'm generating over 3,000 leads a day. Oh my God, bro, that one was big. That one got close. Dude, maybe we'll put like a blooper section in here. Oh my goodness. The reality that nobody shows of filming outside, whatever. It's still fun. It's still great. I mean, I get to work outside. I get to film videos on the beach, dude. Yeah. Anyways, back to it. Shout out to Bernardo, our filmer today, videographer, because we forgot a chair for him and he's been standing up this entire time behind the camera. So thank you. Everyone in the comments say like, let's go Bernardo or something. I don't know. So now let's talk about the content archetypes. Okay. Like I said, you don't have to make this type of content that I've been talking about in order to be successful. There are definite, an infinite amount of different content or vehicle types or content archetypes that you can go down or create and still be successful. And I don't want to just throw out all these fancy words without explaining it. If you're not sure what a content archetype is, there's no shame in that. It's basically like different styles of content. So you have vlogs, you have talking head, sitting down videos, you have documentaries. Like these are different content archetypes, right? So the different kind of content archetypes that I've seen the work the best with entrepreneurs that I've worked with is, first of all, you have the knowledge value focused ones, right? Which is basically like this. You can share your iPad screen, you talk to camera, and you have a super simple thumbnail, and it's very focused on your ideal client profile. You're just sitting down, providing knowledge, providing value. The next type is very high quality, high production. That means highly edited, highly scripted, researched out. Like my video with almost 500,000 views, that video was extremely highly produced. I had help with research. I had an editor. I had good lighting, a good film setup, like you name it, right? This is high production, high quality. And then you have the value vlogs. Think the Daniel Dalens, the Mr. 4 to 8s of this world. Their value vlogs are really what we've talked a lot about already today, so I don't really need to go more in depth on that. And then you have what I call the blend, which is almost like a mix of it. And I think the creator who does this the best, so I mean, he's very unlikely he's watching this, but if he is, shout out to Matt Gray. Matt Gray does this exceptionally well. Matt Gray, he does a blend of all this. He has value vlogging, high production, and knowledge value, kind of value-focused content all in one. The problem is this type of content, it's the hardest to make, but it's the most likely to go viral. Like, for example, some of my most viral pieces of content, they were a blend. Matt Gray, he's an 8-figure entrepreneur, generates a stupid amount of leads through content. His email newsletter is like hundreds of thousands of people, I believe, or something crazy. And it's because he does this blend. He does content so exceptionally well. I will say, though, if you're doing the content game solo and you don't have a team, this will become extraordinarily difficult for you to do. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, right? So just keep that in mind. That being said, this is all nice. But what if still, like, all this is good in theory? This is all good value. Like, you might be pumped up to create content, or you might be stoked to go on in this, but let's come back to reality for a second and bring you back down to earth. What if you still aren't sure on the direction you want to go? You still feel like you're no closer to having an actual system to predictably creating videos that, again, I repeat myself so much, that feel predictable and that aren't just you throwing out idea after idea, wasting time and resources, hoping that one sticks. And because that's just not smart. That's not a good strategy, right? Anybody will tell you that. So what if that's you? Well, if that's you, I wanted to have tangible resources or exercises that we could very quickly go through, okay? I have 2 exercises for you that will instantly, I swear to God, guys, this is going to be so valuable for you. Just stick with me. This is going to be so valuable. I'm giving this to you away for free. This is one of the things in systems that I implement with clients, or exercises I go through with clients when we first start working together. I'm just going to give you guys in this video. So stick with me, because this is going to be extraordinarily valuable, because this exercise is going to show you how to come up with video ideas predictably for your ideal client, okay? The first exercise is called the 4 exercise. And the whole thesis of this exercise is that good content starts with clarity in your content, right? So if you have clarity in your content, the content will be good as an effect, right? As a cascading effect. That being said, this means that we need to get extremely clear on our content pillars. If you don't have content pillars, and you're not clear on the direction of content or the topics that you're making content about, then there will be zero clarity in the content you're conveying. And if there's zero clarity on your end in the content you're conveying, then anybody consuming the content will have 10 times less clarity. And also, one other thing I'll say, don't use AI here. Try to use your mind, because the better that you can articulate your content pillars in your content, the better that it'll be conveyed when you start shooting live or talking to the camera. So what are the questions you need to ask yourself to come up with your 4 pillars? The first one is, what would most people come to you for in terms of advice? For me, it's YouTube growth strategy, monetizing through content. The next question you should ask yourself is, what could you talk about all day without getting bored? For me, that's entrepreneurship and business, right? And I gave you guys examples here. So that's systems. I love systems. That's scaling, that's marketing, etc. All of that. I could talk about it for hours. I mean, it's literally what I'm doing right now. The third question that you should ask yourself and be able to answer is, what do you love to talk about outside of the first 2 topics or points that we just mentioned, right? So for me, it's self-development, meaning balance, family, like spirituality, running and lifting, that kind of thing. The 4th question is, what are you good at that you would love to incorporate more of into your life/content? For me, that's design. Think aesthetics, branding, editing, that kind of thing, right? So if you can answer these 4 questions right here, if you can answer these 4 questions, you will be extremely clear on what your 4 pillars are. For example, when I start documenting over creating or creating a value vlog and I don't know what to talk about, I now know and have clarity that no matter when or where a camera starts rolling, I can either talk about YouTube and provide value about anything growth related, strategy related, or monetization related. I can talk about business, anything about systems I've used, how I've built buyback your time systems, shout out Dan Martell, where I can basically like have my assistant, or how I've systemized things to have my assistant do a lot of the work that's like putting out the fire so I can focus on big picture thing. I could talk about the different resources I use for marketing, all this other stuff. Let's say that I'm lost for content. Well, if I want to let people in a little bit more of my life so they could build a stronger relationship with me or be more authentic, great. I'll talk about my running, my lifting, how I'm training for a marathon or whatever it is, right? My diet, how I balance family life because I'm 25 and I'm a dad and married, right? Or let's say I want to talk about something I'm passionate about that I'd like to incorporate more of. Great. I could start talking about how I build out aesthetic brand kits for personal brands or for clients I work with, right? You get the idea. I have a lot of clarity on my content pillars, and because of that, when I talk or speak on anything content related, there's clarity on your end as well when you're watching the content. This takes us over to our next exercise, which is one of my favorite exercises. And if you actually go through this exercise, you will have predictable, really good optimized video ideas, and you will no longer have this lost or kind of like just feeling like basically like lack of productivity kind of, or lack of predictability kind of mindset or feeling that you're in when you're creating content that most people have. That will disappear with this. I'm really excited to show this. So this is what I call the systemize ideation framework, okay? And it's how to turn a video into a strategic assembly instead of having any guesswork that may or may not work, right? Instead of guessing on a video that might work or might not. So step one to this, and by the way, guys, I'm just going to go through it, and then I'm going to show you a client case study where I did this with a client and the result of it. So step one, you got to ask yourself, all right, what is your channel about? What are the 4 pillars? This is where you put the 4 pillars that we just came up with in the last exercise, okay? Step 2, who is your viewer? And right here, we're just writing down like the main keyword of our ideal viewer profile or ideal client profile. However, I do want to preface this, like as an example, I have a 3-page document of my ideal client profile. When I say I'm targeting 6 to 8 figure entrepreneurs, that's for simplicity and quickness. But in reality, I have a 3-page document going in excruciating depth on literally their psychographics, words that they resonate with. Like, I have my ideal client profile extremely mapped out, and you should too. And that being said, though, in this exercise, who is your viewer? Just break it down. Instead of writing out this long paragraph of who my viewer is, I'm just going to write in my example, my viewer is 6 to 8 figure entrepreneurs. Step 3 is where you come up with your elevator pitch. What's your elevator pitch? So in short, this is basically a very small paragraph that you write that's basically like the thesis of 1 or 2 things. The elevator pitch can be the thesis of a potential idea that you have for a video, or it could be like the thesis of your overall YouTube channel. And you should use the information above as your guide in writing this elevator pitch. And this step 3 is the only step that I will say is okay to use AI, like ChatGPT or something. But again, just try not to, because again, the more clarity and the better you can articulate it yourself, the better it will be conveyed, because the better it will be internalized. And then that brings us into step 4, which is where we dial in what our killer angle is. So based on our elevator pitch, we now ask ourselves the following questions. And it's really important to have somebody else who you could do this with. Like with my one-to-one consulting clients, usually we do this together. But for example, like sometimes I'll just sit down with my wife and have her go through this with me, or even my dad. He's an entrepreneur and we'll do it together. But basically you want to ask yourselves, would you watch this video? Right? So based off of all the information above, based off your elevator pitch, if I were to condense this into a video about my overall topic here, would you watch it? Yes? Great. Which part of the elevator pitch hooked you? And again, we're trying to, like, ideally, you want to ask your ideal client profile these questions, who you're targeting, right? So for me, if I could sit down with a 6 to 8 figure entrepreneur and ask them these questions, that would be the most optimal way to do this. The next question is asking them, based off of these 3 steps for my elevator pitch here, what here is unclear? And then finally is what would make you watch. So what from this would make it feel irresistible to watch this video or basically just my YouTube channel in general. Based off the answers to these questions, we validate our killer angle, which now becomes our video idea, our hook, and in some cases, even our thumbnail concept. If you don't believe me, I'm going to show you a real-life example I did with one of my one-to-one consulting clients who is a six-figure entrepreneur. She is a mom of 4, and her whole topic is basically being a mompreneur. She just had a book launch, and this video not only is the best performing video on her channel, but it's also generated a crazy amount of conversions on her book launch. This is my client case study. Now, for privacy's sake, again, I just made this video. I didn't ask any of my clients if it's cool mentioning their names, so I'm not going to mention names. Like Max Pearson, I know he's cool if I talk about him. My mentors and other clients, I don't know if they're cool with it, which is why I'm not mentioning it. But anyways, so based off the context I just gave you, step 1, I asked her, okay, great, what's your channel? Like in 4 pillars. Her 4 pillars are motherhood, financial literacy for mothers, business and entrepreneurship for mothers, and self-development for mothers, okay? Who is her viewer? In short, again, we have literally a 3-page document for her as well. I think hers is 2, actually, of her ICP. But for her, it's in short, it's ambitious moms. Step 3, what's your elevator pitch? So after going back and forth with her, and we also included my wife on this as well, because my wife is a mom, right? We said, what's your elevator pitch to my client? And after talking with my wife as her ICP, we came up with this. Her elevator pitch is, I help ambitious moms turn motherhood into their superpower, building wealth, confidence, and freedom through financial literacy, business, and self-development. Okay, this is good stuff. So now what we do is we go over to step 4, the killer angle. Now we go through the following questions. So I actually brought my wife in and had my wife answer these questions for my client because my wife is my client's ICP, ideal client. And my wife answered when my client asked my wife, would you watch this? My wife said, yes, I would. She asked my wife, what part of it hooked you? The part that hooked my wife as a mother was being able to make or turn motherhood into their superpower, right? Because a lot of moms basically like they view being a mom as sometimes limiting, and it's really hard on them. So being able to turn that into a superpower was very attractive. That's something that would have hooked my wife. And then she asked my wife, what's unclear about all this? My wife answered, well, what does being an ambitious mom actually mean, right? And then what would make you watch? My wife answered, the part that would make my wife watch that video, if this was turned into a video, was turning motherhood into a superpower. Guess what, guys? Based off of this, we can now validate our killer angle. The killer angle is turning motherhood into their superpower. That's your video idea. The video idea that we did for her is how to turn motherhood into a superpower, 6 unique methods. That's how you do it. Through these 2 exercises I just gave you, you can create a systemized way to create optimized videos that are predictable because they are optimized to convert with your ideal client. Like, show me a system that can do that for you, and I'll tell you you're lying. Or maybe not, because there are some other talented people out there, but whatever. I'm getting cocky because now I'm getting real pumped up on what I'm saying. Anyways, before we end here, we're coming to an end. I just want to really quickly go over a mental framework. I know they look at other people in the industry who are crushing it. I get it. I do the same thing. And they see their content and they make excuses as to why they can't get there, why they can't create the same kind of content. But if you do that, you will lose. And I've been in the same realm. Like when I started going down, when I wanted to shift directions with my content, when I went from creating this really high produced content that was getting hundreds of thousands of views on this channel that you're watching this video, it was a really tough decision for me to make, knowing that I was going to cannibalize part of my audience, knowing that I would now be making videos that aren't going to get hundreds of thousands of views, are only going to get hundreds or on the small end of a couple thousand views each video. This was really hard for me to make, or this pivot in, right? And I kept making excuses like, I don't have the resources of people like Daniel Dalen or Matt Gray, or my content won't be as good as them, so this pivot's scary. But if you do that, you will lose, right? I made this pivot despite it being scary, and I'm not generating the views I want to generate, but I'm generating the results I want to generate. Of course, I want to always get more results and better results, But I wouldn't have gotten there had I not made that pivot, had I had just sat there and compared myself and my situation with other people's situations and selves. We all have a unique angle, an X factor. You just need to find what that is and go all in on it, right? Whether it's location, looks, aesthetic, knowledge, whatever it is, it could be a million different things. And another thing I really like, mental framework from all of this that I want you to take away, don't go try to copy other people, right? Don't go copy Daniel Dalen. Don't go copy Alex Hormozi. Don't go copy Iman Gadzhi, because you're just going to become noise in this content ecosystem. You're just going to be adding more noise to it, and you'll lose. You won't stand out. You know why? Because people don't go, when they want to watch Mr. Beast or Alex Hormozi, they don't go watch Mr. Beast copycats or Alex Hormozi copycats. They go watch Mr. Beast and Alex Hormozi. So if you're copying other people, they're not going to watch you. People are going to watch you for the you are. I know that sounds cliche and cringy, but it is true, right? Be authentic. And stop comparing your level 1 to other people's level 100. When you start with content, it's going to suck. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be flashy, but it will resonate with a few people at first, and then that'll compound. As long as you don't get stuck in the vicious cycle of comparing your level 1 to everyone else's level 100, and I'm speaking from experience, you will lose. So get in that mental framework as well. Get started with what you have. Again, I want to underline this. We all start from more or less the same place. I know that, take that with a grain of salt, but meaning with YouTube, we all start from level 1 or level 0, really. Some of us have more money to invest in better resources at first, but really, we all start more or less at the same place. Find your X factor, as I mentioned. Find your unique edge. Go all in on that and be unapologetically yourself through it all. Because right now, guys, YouTube, that's what YouTube's prioritizing. It's never been easier to win on this platform. If you have made it this far, it means that you have the same goal. We're on the same wavelength here. And that goal, it's not to be famous. It's not to get vanity metrics. The goal is to resonate. And I'll just highlight that like 50 times at a very high level with a specific or small group of people and create a profitable business around that. Back to what I said. Having that synergy between your audience, your content, and your offer, right? That being said, guys, if you are watching and you are a 6 to 8 figure entrepreneur and you just want to chat with me about working with you one-to-one, I take on 5 people a month. We have 2 slots that opened up for consulting. So if you want me to come into your content business for the next 4 months and help you implement all of the systems, frameworks, and strategies that I've done with some of the biggest names in the industry, but also with people who aren't such big names in the industry and still are generating like $250,000 plus a month through content organic, then check out the first link in the description below. It'll take you to my landing page, just dylanrreynolds.com, and it'll make you fill out a quick application just to make sure you're a good fit. And then after that, we'll hop on an hour-long call and we'll just chat. And we'll see if we're a good fit to work with one another. So if you want that, if all this sounds good to you, do that. However, I also want to provide value for those of you who aren't yet maybe at that six-figure mark and you still want to make content work for you. If that's you, I have spent a ridiculous amount of time building out and hiring people to help me build out and train with every single template, framework, and system that I've ever used or implemented. And I have trained a custom AI GPT that you can go in and basically have as your own YouTube strategist assistant with you at all times. And it is at a small price of free for you guys. So that'll be the second link in the description below. So if you're below 6 figures and you still want this to work for you, use that AI, that custom GPT trained on YouTube strategy to help you. You can download that below. With that being said, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Peace. Go.